all of the senior vice presidents were in their senior vice president meeting, and somebody said, now that libraries are obsolete, what can we do with that space? So that came back to me, and I immediately did a space survey to be able to provide statistics on who comes in, what departments they're from, what they do when they're there, and so forth. And I presented really good evidence to have the library stay open. And then I had a heart-to-heart talk with my boss, the CIO, and I said to him, library, the word library seems to be a red flag. And it's an obsolete word. Not only that, librarian is an obsolete word. When I was in library school a million years ago, people who graduated became one of two things. They became librarians or information specialists. And the only difference was information specialists used computers to do their work. So this was back in the 70s. So I said, why are we still all librarians? Why aren't we all information specialists? So the first thing I decided to do was to change the name of my staff, the titles, job titles of my staff, from librarian to information specialist. And then I decided to change the name of the department. And my boss agreed with me. He said when he hears the word library, he thinks of his public library back in a small town in California. And I said, I think that's what most people think, no matter how much education, and this man had a lot of education. He had an MD and a PhD, and he had spent much time in many libraries over the course of his career. But still, the word library was evocative of a different time and place. So he said, why don't you research this? So I did my research. The first thing I did was to put out a query on MedLibL, which is our discussion group, and asked what people thought of this. And I got a torrent of replies saying, don't change it. It's a bad idea. The word library is fine. It's stood the test of time. And a few people contacted me directly, not through the listserv. And they said, I think this is a good idea you have. I think you should go with it. And I looked at the NHS, the National Health Service in England, and their medical libraries fall under the division of knowledge services. So I thought, so little of what I do is traditional library work. So much of what I do could be described as knowledge management tasks. So with the approval of my boss, who made it very, very easy, I changed the name of the department from Medical Library Services to Knowledge Services. And I never, ever regretted it. Even when I had to explain to confused people what it was, I never regretted it. And before I changed, I talked to a couple of people from HIM, Health Information Management, which used to be called Medical Records. And I asked them, do you remember before you changed the name of your organization, the name of your department, do you remember any pushback from the organization? They said, oh yes, there were millions of people who really resented the thought of changing to health information management. They said, nobody will know what it is. I'm proud to be a medical records administrator, or whatever it was their title was. And I said, would you change it back? And they said, never in a million years. I would never go back to medical records. HIM has meant something in this institution, and it's elevated our status, even if we have to explain to people what it is. So that's how I changed.